Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk about DreamWorks Shrek, a movie that's gotten a lot of popularity for various reasons that I'm not going to go into. We're only here to talk about the movie itself, and please don't ask me my thoughts on any online animations, okay? Good. So, DreamWorks was founded basically despite Disney from Katzenberg's standing because of how he was annoyed at how Disney wasn't doing things the way he wanted them to. So he formed his own studio. And we have a great fairy tale spoofing film here. There's so many elements here that are done well, like the idea of the love interest and love at first sight being really subverted and the beauty equaling goodness. That's a very important part of this movie, is the message that beauty is inside, but it's not like Beauty and the Beast. At the same time, I'd say the message is really about accepting oneself. Since Shrek is our lead and it's not like Belle where she's the main focus and finding goodness in the beast. Fiona and Shrek do find out from each other that there's inner beauty in both of them, or some other scenarios like that, all the cliches, but at the same time, there's a certain cynicism to the film too. The characters are all sarcastic, and a lot of the tropes are brought into another idea, and a lot of times the characters really subvert the idea of goodness and kindness that are in other animated films. Sure, Shrek and Fiona are good people, but they have been known, especially in the first movie, to have innocent animals suffer from them. Frog and snake balloons, birds blowing up and eating their eggs, that sort of thing. So it really subverts those tropes very cleverly, as well as bringing a fresh modernization to these stories. Not like a bunch of pop culture references, unlike the sequels that un unexplainably have certain references to things that are even more out of the setting. Like a magic mirror acts as a television for love connection for Farquaad to choose a bride. There's parking lots in Duloc compared to with each night as a section comparable to something you might see at a park or something. Like you've now parked in Sir Lancelot, kind of like how Disney and other theme parks will have character based ones. And yeah, and it doesn't stop there for Disney. It's a Small World is clearly parodied for Welcome to Duloc. And fairy tales in general are just so mercilessly mocked in this movie. And it definitely is the highlight of it. And it's very creative and clever. And just an all around fun movie for the story. And it definitely manages to convey its message and has some great action sequences that manage to be funny at the same time, similar to Cat Returns. Now for the animation. This movie is from 2001, so the animation is going to be dated, but there's plenty of times when textures, especially for settings, are really great. The humans don't look so good, but a lot of the objects genuinely do, similarly to how this is the case for the first few Pixar movies. The sunflowers field, the bridge of lava, above lava, for when they find Fiona, all of that is so impressive even by today's standards and still looks great for its time. But I can say that animation has grown farther since then and more detailed, but that's not something we should fault the movie for. Now into the characters. Shrek is a very atypical protagonist. One, he's not conventionally attractive unless you are an ogre yourself. And second, he can be a bit of a jerk at times, which is part of his charm. He's grumpy and cranky, reasonably so considering that he's hunted, but he has a sick sense of humor at the same time, with the frog and snake balloons previously mentioned, thinking of closing Fiona into her cave at points. So that makes for a really interesting character, and seeing him grow and slowly learn to accept others into his life while accepting himself as a person, which is a really important message. Then there's Donkey, who is definitely the comedic highlight of the movie, and he is very annoying to the characters in the movie, which is definitely another thing that's subverted from Disney type movies where the characters that are supposed to be cute, all the heroes love. No, Shrek and Fiona both find Donkey incredibly annoying, but unlike somebody from my last review, Donkey's jokes are funny, and he's a decent animal. So, he definitely has some charm to him, and it's nice to see him and Shrek grow closer as the movie progresses, and he's just hilarious. Eddie Murphy was great as him. Every scene with him is so funny. Then there's Princess Fiona, another character that's a great counterpart to Disney in the sense that she knows karate, she's gross, she can be cranky, she's blunt, finding Measure Hood annoying and she beats them up instead of, "Excuse me, dear, please don't do that." Hey, man, that was annoying. And we see that she does feel she has to play this role, but at the same time, she has a good sense of fun as well as some various ogre-like traits that are very thin, that are make her reveal so obvious when you see them movie as older. But at the same time, it was brilliantly done and a very good twist. It's not a twist that's predictable in the case of, oh yeah, she's an ogre. It's like, how didn't I see that? How did I not see that? Which is the good kind of twist, in my opinion. Not completely out of left field, but enough signs that it makes sense. And there's enough subtlety so that it's done properly, unlike other movies that fail on either of those accounts. But beyond that, I like how she's tough, independent, but also has a very romantic side, showing that you don't have to be one or the other. You can be a very independent person, especially young women, but still have a sentimental side, and that it doesn't define who you are if you are that way, and that you're free to be as romantic and dreamy as you want and still kick some serious butt. Dragon is another character that I love for the sake of being so different from what expected. She doesn't say anything, but her crush on Donkey is so cute, and it's nice having a dragon character that isn't an antagonist. She's up there with Mushu and the original Elliot as some of my favorite dragon characters. Then we have our villain, Lord Farquaad. Duloc as a whole is a very good representation for a kids' movie of a dictatorship. Farquaad expects people to laugh, applaud, or give any other reaction to his presentations and ceremonies that he wants them to. And anybody that goes against what he says will be tortured. And at the same time, he has a great hatred for anyone different than him, such as the fairy tale creatures. That's more explained in the musical version, but in this version, we don't have any hint of it, other than it might be a norm for the whole world that this set in, which is strange when it doesn't come up later in the movies. But again, this is only for the first movie, so I'm not going to go into that right now. So, I definitely do think he works as a villain, and he makes some good, and is the butt of plenty of good jokes. Plus, my friend Ashley was a great Farquaad, and if you see this, yeah, I just told the whole internet. All the 5 people that's going to watch this, if that. So, other characters are really funny, like the fairy tale creatures, and they become familiar faces for the whole franchise. But by this point, they don't have enough to really be worth mentioning on their own. So, Shrek is a very funny animated film that has some intelligent subversions, and it really did make an impact on animated movies. It gave DreamWorks an angle for them to really go into, and made the animated comedy the route that animated films wanted to go, instead of the Disney route that had been of the late 90s to a more cynical animated film with some fart jokes, pop culture references, and some wink winks to the adults. But none of the movies that weren't on those levels came nearly to the level of the first 2 Shrek movies, in my opinion. But I'm not going to fault Shrek for having bad movies follow in its footsteps. That wouldn't be fair. And at the same time, good comedies came at the same time. It gave DreamWorks its first inspiration as to what their studio would be all about. And at the same time, other studios came around the same time or years later, like Blue Sky, or in the early 2010s, Illumination. And both of those studios clearly are going in the route of DreamWorks animated films. So it's safe to say this movie has made a lasting impact on animation through that. Great characters, an interesting story, and of course, wonderful humor. So if there's an anime film you want me to review, please leave in the comment section below. And remember, doesn't make sense not to live for fun. Your brain gets private, your head gets dumb. And hey now, you're an all-star.